now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back everyone to an episode of CS2 News. This is the series where we discuss and cover all and everything CS2 news and update related content. Over this last few weeks, there's been a pretty major stir within the CS community, as many players have felt as if the Counter-Strike and Valve devs have kind of just left CS2 to rot, while at the same time, they're really only caring about skins and what benefits them. And before the keyboard warriors go ham, this is also before Valve's annual holiday to Hawaii even happened in the first place. Now, in terms of Counter-Strike, as we're now inching closer to the Austin Major in June of 2025, more and more teams, it seems like every single year, and right around the qualifiers for the Austin Major, many teams are continuing to leave or completely disband from Counter-Strike as it's becoming increasingly more expensive as an esport to stay in, but also to even enter the scene, somewhat, I guess you could say, a barrier to entry. Not to mention our most recent video released last week regarding CS2's map pool switch has given some new, pretty interesting perspectives on what can come soon in terms of maps, but also map pool changes with long-standing maps within the Counter-Strike franchise. Today's video, we actually have quite a bit to discuss, that being from update drama, delays with Valve, not to mention what CS2 is currently cooking. We're also going to break down CS2 Pro news, drama, record low viewership, alongside a bunch more. But before we do so, I want to give a huge thank you to Skin Club for sponsoring today's video. Skin Club is a highly popular case opening platform with a massive collection of cases for you to unbox, giving a fair chance for all players. For those who are 18 years or older, elevate your gaming experience by collecting and upgrading amazing skins through a provably fair system, ensuring a fair chance whether you're unboxing by yourself, competing against other players, or battling bots. Consider the stakes and transform your unwanted baggage into something shiny. Simply select the skin, explore the upgrade options, and move the slider to your preference. Every month, Skin Club features a brand new event packed with cases, exciting giveaways, and points for participating on the platform, which can be spent on the marketplace. There are multiple different payment methods such as crypto, card, or skins. And withdrawing your winnings takes seconds. Head to your profile, select the skin you want, and you'll have it in your inventory. Don't miss out on the 7% deposit bonus. Check out the link in the description below.
Let's roll.
Now, firstly for today's video is breaking down Valve's update patterns, their cycle, and what they're cooking behind the scenes, specifically when it comes to CS2. So by this point, I'm pretty certain that pretty much everyone within the CS community that actually plays CS has seen Valve's major update at the beginning of April regarding the Spring Forward update, where it was mainly just covering skins and some minor changes to Train and Inferno. But you see, that was it. There was nothing else for it. That was at least until last week, where the devs published a new tweet alongside update removing the major stickers from back in November of last year for the Shanghai Major. Now, for some people, this might not even seem like it's too bad of an issue, or it might not even consider it to be an issue in the first place. But for those players and viewers who have been around for quite some time, those people know that major stickers would be removed maybe a week, and up to the most it sometimes was just a month after the tournament was played. And that was including the 75% off sale, which at the time, this not only helped the market, but its rarity and also demand. So back in the day, with them being rare, not being released too often, not being left in the shop pretty much to rot and the price to go into the ground, but also because stickers looked different every single event and they weren't always terrible, there was just a lot more factors at play of why they felt more special. And the problem, you may ask, with new major stickers, for those who don't know, the rarity and demand is pretty much dead for them. But if that's the case and you want to craft and just buy some new stickers, what would be the point in buying some older stickers, let's just say from a couple years ago, or even dating back to Stockholm, Antwerp, and Paris, especially if those teams are in current majors, when yes, sure, those stickers could be maybe in some cases a little bit more rare, but they're just going to be more expensive than pretty much getting the exact same sticker in a more modern era, modern major, and they're the exact same item for a quarter of the cost. Obviously disregarding rarity, as we just mentioned. So Valve, please change stickers back to something more innovative, make them feel special again. But the last thing I will say regarding stickers is I don't believe that will ever happen, which also falls into the same reason why I don't think we see a whole bunch of gameplay in regards to Counter-Strike. And that's the fact that cosmetics, specifically major stickers, maybe not so much anymore, but they make Valve a boatload of money. Why put effort into a design change when you know for a fact the old design sells, and that's pretty much a wrap. So sorry for the little bit of a tangent with the sticker situation, but I now want to discuss Valve's update cycle and how it's currently being discussed community-wide, as they've pretty much been off the grid, and I mean literally. Up until recently, the devs at Valve were on vacation in Hawaii for their annual company trip. And on top of that, before and after that, CS2 hasn't and wasn't really touched, mainly with the needed fixes since launch, and the largest controversy since its full release, that being content. As we get and have gotten a lot of new skins for CS2, that's great. That's great for those people who enjoy them. But there's also a handful of people that even like skins that just want something different, want something new, want a different reason to play every day aside from getting their daily and weekly drops. But what about the anti-cheat? VacNet 3 was released last year, and that was it. What about the tick rate? It has been addressed in some minor updates, but nothing really. The fact of the matter is with tick rate is Valve is never going to go to 128, most likely not even for competitive in the pro scene, not to mention FPS and buttery smooth gameplay. I get that CS2 is never going to be CSGO, but even on a very high-end PC, it just doesn't feel as smooth. But more about that in a second. Not to mention we also have the long-standing argument, controversy, but also discussion within the community, that being content. That's also returning from CSGO, and new content that's pretty much been non-existent here in CS2. Now for me, I get that CSGO took years to perfect. I was there when it was bad, I was there when it was in the middle, and I was there at the end. But you see, my problem with a statement like that is we're not in the year 2015 anymore. It's 2025 with a new engine for CS2, that being Source 2, that has new capabilities, new and improved ways to make games, make mods, make content, and overall, it's just time to have a dedicated team to just work on CS2 and CS2 alone. Once every 10 years when Valve releases their standalone game, those have a dedicated team. They make half the money that a game like Counter-Strike does in the matter of just a couple years, so why not just put more time, effort, money, and teamwork into a game like Counter-Strike? In terms of a release date for an update in the near future, I think we should see something in the coming weeks, most likely before the Austin Major begins with the sticker release. Maybe that could be regarding new maps and content for gameplay, and this would also give players more of an incentive to not just attend, but also watch the Major from start to finish, and especially if those people are at home, it gives them something to do while actually watching the event. In my personal opinion, I think an MVP style update would be a great filler until the stickers release, and would let players just breathe a little more, hang in just a little longer until the real content could just start to flow after the Major. And the reason I say that is Valve doesn't typically update the game in a major fashion before we get a Major, no puns intended there. But then again, last year in 2024, we did just receive Train before the Shanghai event started, so I do think at this point, all possible outcomes are on the table. And for a quick add-in here, did you know Cobblestone was officially removed 7 years ago from Counter-Strike's competitive map pool? Now, do you guys miss it and what it came with? Or do you guys more so just miss the time in your life and Counter-Strike's life cycle? Now, speaking of maps, we did have a commentary late last week on the channel regarding Valve's quick switch, meaning a map pool change. And I gotta say the results and comments from that video were interesting to say the least. Most players were actually suggesting Valve should, for at least now, leave the map pool alone. Now, other comments, but also my points in my video, was that Mirage needs a remaster, remake, and a glow up, and maps that we already do have in the game that have been long-standing within the franchise to just be subbed into the competitive map pool, and nothing new needs to be added anytime soon. Another main focus from the comments was the one-off forgotten maps, modes, and features, such as the operation style maps that we don't get often, but when we do, it's an absolute blast. Now, going back just a couple segments in today's video is regarding the Major. The viewership for the Austin Major qualifier was recently at an all-time low for Counter-Strike's history. Now, comparing the numbers from this most recent broadcast to the qualifier for the Shanghai Major back in November of last year, the Austin Major qualifier was around 169,000 viewers, and this was also peak viewership versus the Shanghai at 531K. Not to mention the time zones are completely different, which I don't think is a huge factor. But I think what was most likely the biggest reason for the viewership drop-off was the fact that a lot of teams, specifically the top dogs, were not really a part of the qualifier because of Valve's new format on how teams are now able to attend majors. But that viewership record is still wild to me. And aside from the teams not attending, which would bring more viewers automatically, what reason do you think caused this? And of course, the last thing regarding pro news and majors is the fact that 2 more teams have continued to leave Counter-Strike esports entirely, that being 9Pandas and Astralis. Astralis wants to sell the esports org entirely versus 9Pandas, who's just choosing to leave. Now, reasoning for this is because Astralis has been lacking with their performance inside Counter-Strike, and goes with 9Pandas, but for them it was because they didn't qualify for this major. But with this discussion trending online quite heavily as of recently, I think there's a very key detail that a lot of people are leaving completely out of this conversation and aren't really bringing up. That's the fact that many teams are struggling to keep the lights on due to the lack of funding for their Counter-Strike orgs and finding ways to get new sponsorships for the Counter-Strike franchise and anything regarding esports entirely. Now, this for esports, let alone CS, has always been an issue. It's always been there. It's not something new. It's just in terms of Counter-Strike, year after year, it seems like this continues to grow worse and more teams are leaving, and it most likely won't ever change unless we begin to see the top teams exiting, which I personally don't see happening anytime soon because they make too much money. Now, if you guys do want a commentary on this soon, let me know. I personally think it's really interesting, but also important to see what's going on behind the scenes, especially with the pro scene within CS, because whether people like to admit it or not, the professional scene within Counter-Strike plays a huge factor within updates, how Valve reacts, how they communicate, so on and so forth. I did make a commentary on this just a couple of years ago, but with the transition into CS2, I think it's time for a more updated discussion. Now, closing today's video, I think Valve overall has to step it up with all things Counter-Strike. I think more communication of what's coming soon can very much help improve players wanting to actually play the game and not wanting to just hop on to get the weekly drops. But with bot farms taking over, players buying armory passes, unboxing cases at the rate they currently are, and will eventually be stickers and souvenir packages for the Austin Major, unless Valve sees a big dent in their bank account, I don't think this is going to change anytime soon. Let me know what you guys think down below. How have you been feeling ever since the Spring Forward update for Counter-Strike, and what do you guys want to see soon? I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay positive, sexy. I'm out, guys. Peace.